opportunity where it's always born and reborn through the idea of referrals. Because as much as you want to market yourself and as much as you want to brand yourself out there, if you don't do well at an individual event, then it's difficult for that host or that organizer to then refer you on. And I think for every one event you speak at, you always have to have that intention to want to get 2 or 3 referrals from that, so that you're able to grow. So it's not a straight line in which you're doing one event after another. You have multiple opportunities coming. And I got to realize that from the first 3 years in public speaking. And I thought, okay, I need to broaden the idea that my local community in London, my local community in the United Kingdom, is far too small of a community. Even though it's a population of 60 million, I want to think more broad. Because in a society that lives up to this whole being connected worldwide, I wanted to have that feeling, that idea that my message will also echo much more stronger in other parts of the world. And how can I really resonate with them? Because there are individuals who would actually connect with you far greater than within your home community. And I think that's the sort of vision and ethos that helped me kind of go out and about with and set up what's called the Inspire 1 Million campaign. And I was fortunate, very fortunate in the fact that as an honoree of an award called the JCI 10 Outstanding Young Person of the World Award in Japan, I got connected with around 4,000 people from around 190 different countries around the world. And that in itself was a major milestone, the fact that I was able to leverage that initial platform, knowing that 190 different nations are being represented, and use that as the platform to promote the message that I want to go around the world, try and inspire, empower, and that I wanted to go around and empower and educate as many people as possible. So that was the platform where I would say my public speaking career really went global. Because ever since that event, there's been invitations left, right, and center coming because people value the message in which you're sharing. And I want you to be able to understand that the value is so important, that for you to be able to know exactly what it is you want to give, there's a need for it in the market in the first place. And then they understand what it is you're offering, and they are willing to be able to be a part of that journey. So, and then it continued for a good number of up until this present moment, still to date, that is just trying to fly with your own ambition, fly with your own determination and drive, and to make something successful. And I've spoken at over 1,000 events in 31 countries around the world, and it's been quite a staggering journey in terms of I was not expecting it like that. I was not expecting to have such a big, bold impact in my career, in the lives of others, in the millions of people that I've touched, especially through the Inspire 1 Million campaign. And if I was to just give you stats alone, I think that's where I met Aisha as well, because she joined in one of the events that were part of the Inspire 1 Million. And Bangladesh was the 26th country to participate in the campaign. And at that point, it took around 4 years for the campaign, the 4 years in duration of the campaign, where I spoke at 867 events in 26 countries to be able to reach and inspire a million people in audience size. So that was a journey, and it was an ambition and a bold ambition that I had from a young age. And ever since then, it was just about how can I empower others? How can I guide others that actually public speaking can become a lifestyle profession? Because that was my full time. I didn't have another job. I wasn't doing anything other than my speaking. My speaking is where it was my mainstream, my earning, my bread and butter. So I always felt that people often underestimate the power of public speaking, and not just in terms of the message you portray, but more importantly, the lifestyle and the opportunity and the profession that can come out of it. Because if you think about it, there are some of the high-end speakers in the world. You're looking at celebrities, you're looking at top-level executives. And one thing I learned from them is that even for a single presentation or their presence on stage, they're getting paid $20, $30, $40,000 for that presence, that moment, because people want to be a part of them. They want to be associated with their brand, their message, their idea, their philosophy, their thinking. So we all have that natural ability to be able to pull in and engage with people who can resonate with our message. And that's where discovery comes in, the form of discovery in terms of who you are, what is the message you wish to portray, and is there a need for that message in the market? the first foundational steps in which an individual who wants to become a public speaker needs to really understand and go through. Because if you don't know exactly whether there's a need for your message, like for instance, for my one, it was about self-development. It was all about educating others about a successful life as a student into through entrepreneurship, and learning about entrepreneurship through their student life and how they can actually use those skills to implement in the real world. Because I didn't want individuals just to be shaped around the idea of the stereotype that it's about school, college, university, you get your degree, then you go looking for a job after you've spent 21, 22 years of your life or so, striving hard and just to get that, so-called proclaimed paper that says you're good enough. You're good enough from day one. and I think if you have that internal belief right from the offset, you're able to do things at a much faster pace, and a much more, or a pace that actually suits you and you feel comfortable with from a much earlier time. But the message here, I'm not trying to say that it's too late. The message I'm saying is that you have to identify. You have to identify who your ideal clients are, and there are multiple phases to this as well. I know, Aisha, you said this is just an introduction, but I feel this is a good way just to dive in, especially to the first reasons as to why I got into public speaking, and how it intentionally connects with what I'm talking about. Because the qualities of the clients you want to work with, or the people that you want to work with, matter. And whenever I approached an individual or an organization or an industry, I needed to know that their standards met up to my standards. Because if that's not the case, then you are already losing value. Because value and credibility are so significantly important in the public speaking industry that it is an image game. No matter what they say, no matter what you do, no matter what you, as much as it is about being confident, delivering a message, to be in the lifestyle business of public speaking, you need to be under the spotlight 24/7, 365. And if you're not, you will lose your way. And one of the big lessons I learned along the way was I got into speaking fairly young, and the idea that I would go months, 2 months, 3 months without a speaking engagement made me worried that actually if I don't have an event, I'm not earning, and I'm not able to pay off my bills. I'm not able to live my life. I'm not able to get by. And that was a big concerning factor, that there has to be some form of model associated with it. There has to be an agenda or business background associated with it. Because at the forefront, public speaking is like a sports show, a game show, where you see, if you're watching a game of football, for instance, it's the limelight. It's that 90 minutes you're under the spotlight, and there's a huge crowd around you. Wow, they're celebrating your achievements, your skills, you're showing off, everything, just to give them some form of entertainment on stage. But they had to do work beforehand, right? They had to all the fitness, all the activities, all everything, just to get up to that level of being match ready. And I think it's a great way to be able to say exactly what public speaking is about, that you have to get yourself match ready too, for whatever show, whatever event, whatever moment you are on stage. And I got to learn that from a very early age, especially in the moments when I did not have engagements coming repeatedly. So when I was able to identify who my core clients were, at the initial phases, it was always to do with my sole focus was the university and the education sector. So these could be even industry, this could be charity, this could be anything related to the education sector. That's my market. Those are my clients. And I would often break down, you would have to often break down who your target market is and what is your niche. They're two different things. So for example, my target market was this education sector, but my niche was talking about entrepreneurship to the education sector. So when you're able to have these two elements, often people get confused between what they are and why they're different. You can see education can be a vast, broad subject, or whatever it is, whatever your target market wants to hear, or you're approaching them, can be a vast subject, but you specialize in your niche, right? You specialize in what it is that you represent, and it has to be associated with you. Because what I often am afraid of that people do when it comes to public speaking is they're often trying to be somebody they're not, because they're either uneducated in that field, or they're trying to impersonate someone else, or they're trying to live a life that's not actually representing any of their values or their own personal beliefs. So when you are a public speaker, the value you hold is through the credibility and the brand image you represent, through the ideas and ethos and the values in which you represent. So these are critical. And whenever you're going and presenting, if a client books you as a speaker, you have to think of what the results are from a client's perspective. Because for me, one of the key learning points, I think is a better way to phrase it, is that as a speaker, when I delivered an event and I did not deliver to the value in which the client expected, first and foremost, yes, you get a bad referral. And I've had that a few times. Secondly, you also lose credibility. Thirdly, they won't be booking you again. So you've lost a client in which you've worked hard to gain, to capture. And it's all a business game behind it. No matter how much you enjoy the passion behind public speaking, there has to be a business engine behind you. Because what they're doing is they're investing in you. They're investing in you. They're investing in your time, whether that's 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour, 2 hour, however long you're presenting on stage. And you need to be able to demonstrate exactly why or what the benefits are in which the client gets when you are presenting and performing on stage. And I think those are key strategies in which to identify who your ideal clients are, because they have to be associated with you, your beliefs, your values, and they have to understand the value you hold. And the way to do that is the image and the brand and the personal, the sort of the credibility in which you build up. So how do you build up speaker credibility? First and foremost, it's also to do with the mindset, because if you yourself are somebody who doesn't believe in the idea that you are an expert in your field, why should I? Why should the society believe that you are an expert? That if you're promoting, if for instance your website says that you can deliver talks on A, B, and C, but you internally don't believe that you're an expert, you internally don't believe that you are credible or have that capacity, then unfortunately you will falter on stage, and then the career, the legacy in which you want to leave behind as a speaker fades away. So that's important, and that's critical in terms of how you're able to really get the message out there, that it starts with you, starts with your own, your own mindset, your own beliefs that you are an expert in whatever niche you wish to present in. And one of the other things I got to learn is that the impact of knowledge, because as a speaker and as the world grows ever sounding at a fast moving pace, what I shared with the audience 7 years ago is relevant today, but I would have had to add significant more knowledge to be able to add further impact to that same amount or that same audience. Because I also got to learn from personal experience, being repetitive, being someone who's repetitive over and over and over again. As much as it can take you up as a speaker, it can also bring you down. Because I've heard you speak, I've heard you say that already, I've heard you multiple times before. And especially with the growth in technology, a lot of people often like this session being recorded, so people like to always gain new value. So what is the value add you're bringing each and every time you go to a session? The core message might be similar, the core message, the core outcome can be the same. That's not an issue. But how you tell the story, the storyboarding aspect of your speech is critical. That you always have to bring in some form of new learning for the audience to take away. And to do that, your knowledge is critical. So how do you grow that personal knowledge? The research you do, the information you gather, learning of other speakers. The TED platform is a great way just to even pick 1 or 2 points from every speaker. And even to date, I do that. No matter how much of an expert you are, there's always room for more learning. And I think you don't want to be that egotistical, arrogant individual who says, no, I am the best and I'm good enough and there's nothing more that can make me even better. Of course there is. There's always room for improvement. There's always room for growth. And if you don't believe in that, then as a speaker, once again, your career falters. And the whole idea of professional speaking, as much as it is about what you say, as much as it is about how you look on stage, as much as it is about how you're presenting and how much of a pulling power you have, the likability factor. I always talk about likability. Like even when you're being interviewed for a job, you could be identical to someone with the same CV, with the same interview. You could say word for word the same thing what somebody else has said. But does the interviewer or does the employer like you? That's all it comes down to. If the client likes you, likes your charm, likes your approach, likes what you're saying, the tone in which you're expressing it, your body language, even things you might be saying may not be as significant, but it's just they like you for who you are. You need to have a likability factor associated to you. And often people they sometimes try to work over hard in terms of how do I gain this likability factor. And the sad reality about the likability factor is that often it's associated with impressions. And that, let's say, even for me, those in attendance here, I could say that for the second person I saw today, I don't like you, or for the third person, I like you. It's just a natural thing people have. And it's that immediate sort of response, that trigger people have. They can get that first impression of you, but it's your duty to then change that. If they don't like you, then for them to buy into the message of it. But again, likability is so important in terms of brand building as a speaker, because your brand is what sells. It's what builds the credibility. It's what earns you the trust. And a lot of speakers, a lot of clients will only book you or only want to have you as a speaker if they have earned that trust. And there are multiple ways to earn trust as you go along the journey. And this could all be part and parcel of your, for example, your sales cycle in the business in the back end as a speaker. And I'll come to that in a bit. But I also want you to highlight that the client's experience is so important. And that who are clients, for example, they could be event organizers, they could be whoever's associated with your target market who actually does the event planning. So they could be your clients. So it's about approaching them, and it's about giving them that experience that they asked for, with more on top. And I think with the whole Inspire 1 Million journey, in which I did, all the talks were pretty much around the same similar message. And the idea was that every audience was vastly different. So as much as it was university students, as much as it was corporate businesses, there was some which was a blend of two. So it's about making sure that the client gets more than what they bargained for when they have you on as a speaker. And I think a lot of people often underestimate that. It's like your JD, that my job description says A, B, and C, that I will go and deliver A, B, and C. As a speaker, it's more than that. As a speaker, you want to be able to make sure that you not only win the heart of the event organizer, but you also win the heart of the audience, because the audience themselves might have individuals who like what you say, who like what you do, who like the message you portray, who come up to you and say, hey, Sabir, I'd like you to come and speak to our group of people, our association, because we feel your message would be valuable. And so that way you grow. And I think one event after another, you have to have that mindset and that intention that you're not only going there to just deliver that 20-minute presentation and to walk out the door. You have to have that mindset, that winning mentality, that yes, you're there to serve, but you're there to also win at the same time. Win over new business, win over new opportunities, win over new clients, win over new connections, networks, build and grow. And I think you all know that, you all understand that, but it's just that continuation cycle and the process that is so important. One other thing that I truly learned through my whole experience is that actually, when you're talking about your target audience, or when you're talking about your market as a speaker, you may be hearing that I'm talking very business orientated, because this is a business backbone, the speaking business, and I'm talking on the point that you can make it a lifestyle business. Because I heard one of the audience, one of the guests mentioned that it can be a secondary, and I think it was Aisha who mentioned it can be a secondary thing. I think it can be a secondary, but I also encourage people, if they want a lifestyle out of it, it can become a primary too. Just like myself, that there are so many speakers out there who are actually professional speakers, and it's their sole income. But I will also explain that at some point down the line, that exactly it doesn't have to be the only source of income, because there are multiple ways in which you can do it. And I break this down into two key things. One is who are your primary clients and who are your secondary clients. And when you're looking at it from a top level down, your primary clients, as I say, it could be anybody who is associated with the target market. Like for me, instantly, it's always to do with the education sector. So anyone associated with the education sector who buys into the ethos and values that I hold is my primary client. So these could be teachers who book sessions for their students. These could be large event organizers who actually host events for all types of schools, colleges, universities. So they would be my primary client, because I would tap into them. I would tap into their market and say, I want to come and speak at your event. Your secondary clients, on the other hand, are those who attend the event. So how can you benefit them? Because it's as much as it's about value add through the message, you also have to have something that you're adding to them that brings them into your sales cycle. And I think a lot of people often misunderstand how important that is, that it's not just about the value you add to the message, but what you can do or what they can do with that message. So if with that message you bring them back into your whole sales process, what is it that you're adding them into? For example, you can bring them on board into your mailing list. It's a great and simple way to be able to do that. What value are you adding through your mailing list? How can you keep them engaged? How can you keep, because that's the market you're serving, right? It's the target audience in which you're serving. And as a speaker, that's the first mentality, the first mindset, that you're there to serve. You're there to serve, and you're there to add constant value. And as you can grow that sort of community of people who are almost become your fans, your followers, your believers, everybody who really has an ideas and loves the charm in which you have, because the message in which you're portraying, it's so important. So they're the people who are not to be forgotten. And you see with social media, the growth in social media, how significant. Even Facebook like has fan following. Twitter, you've got all these followers. LinkedIn, now people can follow you. All of these aspects, they follow you because they like you. You hold something that they want and they need, and they feel that you're the person who can give that to them. So it's about leveraging off all of those. And these people who attend, these secondary clients, or the target market who attend the event in which you're talking about, you want to give them something, and you want to make sure they are still part associated with you. You don't want to lose them. They're almost like your little babies you're carrying around with you, and you want to make sure you constantly feed them with information, with knowledge, and more on top, because you don't want to be able to say that, okay, I've taken you through this journey, whether it's a newsletter, whether it's an information product, whatever it is, that you're always giving them that sort of further knowledge. So what is your sales cycle? What is the process? And that's the engine you need to build behind you. That when somebody comes, or for example, comes onto your site, they've heard about you, let's say through a referral, they come to your website and they see that, oh yeah, you talk about A, B, and C. The client will then go through a process of earning trust, of gaining trust. How much trust just from looking at your website do they earn? Do they trust in what you're delivering? How much credibility and reputation do you hold just from what it is you're portraying through your message? And that's a time span thing, because somebody who is referred to has already earned more trust, because somebody's already given that good word about you, and they're coming onto your website. But somebody new who's just doing a bit of research and exploring about you, you've yet to build any trust with them. So what your website says is that first stage. What you do secondary, third, fourth, and fifth, to be able to close that and bring them on board, so they are the ones who have booked you as a speaker. That's a sales process, a funnel in which you need to create. And it's quite an interesting journey in which, when you associate this whole business backbone with public speaking, people often are taken by surprise that I did not know that's what's happened and what's expected. It's the most easiest and significant way to demonstrate and to connect it with is through the sports industry, because it's so relevant that every sports club is a business, in the backstage. So you need to perceive yourself as that individual who has a business behind you, who has a working engine that is able to keep converting day in, day out, whether it's your primary, whether it's your secondary, and what journey are you taking them to, and what is the value add you're bringing them. And I think it's vastly important to grow that. And what connects nicely is that it's not just about the sales process on that, but it's also having that marketing backbone as well, that we all, to grow our personal brand, to really have that opportunity to really grow our image and our reputation. YouTube, for example, when I delivered my first TEDx talk back in 2009, it was a TEDx in Notting Hill in London. That I delivered. I did not know the power of TED at that time. I honestly did not know what it was. And I was speaking at a TED conference, at a TEDx event. And it was such a monumental breakthrough that the message, the pace in which it was delivered, the people who attended, they all had a significant impact in how I grew my speaking career and the belief I had in what was possible. And platforms like that give such a huge opportunity. There's somebody here who said they're a part of Toastmasters. Toastmasters, again, is a great opportunity. There are organizations who provide platforms for growing as a speaker. You've got even JCI. JCI, I love working with JCI. They believe it, the brand, the ethos, the values really go with mine in terms of educating those who are fairly young. Which is why I connected with them as part of the Inspire 1 Million. But they were able to help grow and be a part of my whole marketing plan, the brand building plan. I was able to create so many leads and opportunities through TED, through to TEDx events, through JCI, through Toastmasters, through various other platforms, as well as social media. And I think with social media, when it comes to as a speaker, it's always about the knowledge you share. As much as you're able to do some form of lead gen through with social media is a very fast moving pace. So a bit of old school works well with professional speaking, in the fact that you actually do attend events, you actually see people face to face. That human touch is where you get the buy-in, is where you earn the trust, greater trust than whatever is posted on a Facebook or a LinkedIn. You see, so and I think a lot of people often underestimate the old school ways when it comes to that. And again, when I talk about the secondary clients, the people who attend, how can you make them go through an automation process and make that part of your whole marketing plan as you're thinking about having a drive and an energy and trying to create a lifestyle business out of it. There's a lot of information that I'm sharing, and I hope it isn't overfeeding, but it's just having that idea that you are able to do something more than what you thought was possible because of the expertise in which you hold. And each and every one of us have to believe that we are able to have that we have an expertise, and we're able to package that, we're able to mold that. And I wanted to jump into one of the key concerns I think people have when it comes to public speaking. Give me a moment. Public speaking, when it comes to, I'm speaking at an event, do I speak for free? Like I said, my first 20, 30 events were free, purely on the basis of brand building, purely on the basis of putting together, for example, show reels, and getting that trust building and the sort of referrals to be able to put myself in the market. That's fine if that's your intention. But if you're already somebody who does regular public speaking, how do you make it into a lifestyle profession, especially if it's a primary factor, if it's your sole form of income? So what you need to do, your pricing methods are core and crucial when it comes to that. And I always believe in one thing, having a red velvet rope policy. And what that means as part of that is, when you have a red velvet rope policy, is that you don't undervalue yourself, that you believe in the value in which you're presenting. So for instance, you see speakers who are offering $10,000, this $10,000 for an hour session with them. Why? Because they know that's what the amount of work they put in to package that message over years of experience. They feel that's their value, right? They're not going to take a penny less. If others are willing to pay more, then they will ask what the budget is. So I don't want you to be shy in order to price yourself. And you price yourself in a way in which you feel you're overpricing yourself, and the client feels that, oh my God, I got a bargain. It's a win-win. So that's a mentality I had to learn and develop, especially through the Inspire 1 Million campaign from 2010 to 2011, when I started to understand the flow of how pricing affected different countries around the world, that it's not always the same, and that the market is always, so you need to have that room for negotiation and room for maneuver as well. So who you're targeting, where they're from, the region, the demographics, all plays a factor in your pricing model when it comes to public speaking, when it comes to the professional speaking. But have a red velvet rope policy in which you know that this is my baseline and I will not cross that. My prices start from there, and anything and everything is added on top, right? So you've all experienced some degree of business. You all know this, but it's just about how you package that in the professional speaking industry. And I want you to be able to, and that's those three. For example, the sales cycle, the marketing, and the pricing. These are all part of your conversion strategy. So if you don't put this as part of your conversion strategy, then as much as it is you'll be speaking about your key topics and your things you love, it won't be consistent, and it won't be something you do repeatedly. It will be something you do one-off, and you go 6 months, 5-7 months without a speaking engagement, and then next thing you do, you go another engagement, and then you've almost lost your way a bit. So it's about being that consistent and having an opportunity where one event leads to the referral from the individual. And don't be shy to ask for this referral. A lot of people often feel that if you do well, that you've done your duty, but then it's your responsibility to go up to the event organizer and say, can you refer me to 1 or 2 people, maybe 3 people that that will benefit from my service? And if they're able to do, that's 3 new potential clients you have in your you can bring into your sales cycle. So it's that whole process that you go through. And I think public speaking for me has been such a profound opportunity to really understand exactly what is possible out there and how you can turn that into a primary goal. But I want, as much as I've been talking about the business element, I want you to keep in mind one thing: your primary element of why you've been got into public speaking, which is to serve your audience. As much as it is an intent to convert, if you're looking to become a professional speaker, you always need to have your primary goal as, I need to serve this audience. I need to serve this audience with whatever it is they need. They've come here to learn, whatever value that I can give to them, and making that your primary goal. But keeping in mind in the back of your head that yes, you want to take them on a journey with you. And that's where this whole rinse and repeat strategy, which I talk about in various other sessions, comes in, and this is where you taking them on board through your sales cycle, and then you're adding value and more on top. So this whole journey of a public speaker as a professional speaker, it's more than what it seems on a blank piece of paper, and it's more than what it can be, and it's all to do with how ambitious and how bold you can be. And I just want to wrap up on one thing, because I wouldn't have been able to grow if I didn't have the belief and value in information products. And one of the key ways was through my book. I wrote my first book at the age of 17. It was on the topic of empowering young people to get into entrepreneurship, to turn their ideas into reality. So it was called The World at Your Feet, Turning Your Vision into Reality. And this book itself was a stepping stone in terms of how much credibility I gained just from the idea of having an information product at hand. Because you become an author, it doesn't even have to be a book. It can be a blog or a newsletter or something, or a magazine. It can be a short course, a mini course you do, whatever it is, whatever your information product, it adds this whole purpose of credibility. And in the professional speaking circuit, you need to be able to earn as much credibility, and every event is what does that. But an information product is what it's like almost fast tracks the whole process for you, because you're sharing your knowledge onto a piece of paper, onto a book, onto something that they're able to actually read at a less costly way. And it's a low barrier to entry, or it can even be offered for free. They're learning something about you, and they get to understand exactly your methods, your ideas, and your messages. And this is key in terms of how you grow, because they also become another form of income for you. So you're not solely dependent on your public speaking as your only professional way of earning, but you also have a secondary or even multiple streams of income, because you're running things in the background, your information product selling. And I love that. In fact, I just want to also highlight that I'm sharing all of this with you because, in fact, there's a new book that's coming out called Build Your Confidence on Stage, which is exactly what I've been talking about in this session in a lot more depth. And this whole method, and this is just one of the pillars. What I've shared with you is just one of the 4 pillars in which I talk about as part, and the 4 pillars talk about the speaker's psychology and how to shape the mindset. It also talks about the principles of public speaking, so what the industry expects of you, and how you form the speaker discipline. It also talks about the how you're able to get into the world of public speaking, so learning how to script write from rehearsals to implementing and delivering a show-stopping performance, how you're able to go through that entire journey, even if you are a complete novice or a newbie in the world of public speaking, to the profession itself. So this whole journey, and I think everybody needs to understand the importance that you can't do one without the other. As much as I'm sharing with you the profession, you need to backtrack. You need to backtrack and have that speaker psychology mentality and actually understand how not to be afraid of public speaking, how not to be afraid to be of the skills in which you have and the message you wish to deliver, and understand the principles and the expectations of you within the industry. And then all the formulas that are associated with how you actually put together a powerful, effective speech. And I want to leave you with one thing: the fact that I've gone and delivered so many speeches and events in Bangladesh as part of my Inspire 1 Million campaign. And the fundamental mistake I see from individuals who go on stage and to present and to talk is the MC will, no matter what, introduce you. They will tell you whatever it is. They will share with the audience whatever it is about you. It's a couple of, no more than 150, 200 words. And that's all it should be. And then every individual would go up on stage and start honoring, start thanking, and with every single honoree and guest that is in attendance. Honestly, to God, you'd have no idea how many times I felt so annoyed and angry, because I came to listen, to be able to listen to this speaker, but they spent the good first 5-10 minutes losing my interest, because of the fact that they're thanking everybody. It's not a bad thing, and I'm not saying that it's wrong, but I'm just saying that you're there, you're under the spotlight. Make use of every moment, every second, because you don't know when that secondary opportunity comes. You see, so hit it off, hit the ground running from the offset. Get into your message, create that opening, have a hook associated with it, something that enables the audience to really buy into who you are in your message right from the offset. And that's a critical factor, and I think that's one of the big lessons that I took away from Bangladesh, and also other Asian countries as well. And it's a big factor that I always try to educate as part of whatever session I'm delivering. So the Build Your Confidence the book comes out in December. It's been published by Lid Publishing, which associated all around the world, and it'll be available online as well. And with that, also there's a course that I'm launching called Build Your Confidence on Stage as well. The same word, it goes in hand with whatever the book is teaching. The course takes that one step further, where I'll be facilitating the course online. So all of those will be made available and accessible to everyone who is in attendance today. So I hope that gives you an insight into the world of professional public speaking. I hope that's added some form of value. And if there's something that, if you have questions, I'm more than happy to answer.